We are back with George Jatras, ladies and gentlemen, the author of I Try to Warn You. Hang on a second.
I've got it.
I got it. We both got it. Oh, double copies. Look at that. I Try to Warn You. We do try to warn you each and every week. Available on Amazon, Kindle, and all your other fine booksellers. Hi, Jim. How are you going?
How'd you go? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's okay. We're both in spicy moods today. We're here for the Patriot, the Great Patriot Peace Summit. My goodness, Jim, we're living in history. Don't you feel historical? I feel historical. We're just gone through a historical week. Historical after historical after historical. I can't stop feeling historical for a moment.
We live in hysteric times.
Hysterically historical times. Of course, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, meeting in Alaska, doing the handshake, the awkward handshake, a little bit of pull away. Putin didn't go for it. We can discuss that. We can discuss what happened or didn't happen. Of course, we made predictions with Tommy Salmons last week. We can check back on those. And then, of course, that was a shot. The chaser was Zelensky. And all the EU fine folks, the Euro queers, just showed up at the White House on Monday to be told what the deal is going to be. We suppose we don't know. We can discuss that. There's a letter from Melania to Putin.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, Melania, of course, is speaks Russian, but she writes in English. It's very nice. Very nice of her to do that for us. Talking about the lost children. And the follow-up with Lindsey Graham, the new smoking gun on the table, which is take the deal, or else we're going to charge you or return anywhere between 19,000 to 35,000, depending on which math you're using.
Yeah,
stolen Ukrainian children, apparently, that Russia has stolen during these 3 years of war. Of course, Ukraine would never do such a thing. Would never sell their own children on the black market. And it was, this whole Ukraine used to be the most corrupt country in Europe. Whatever. What are you talking about? No, it was Russia all along. And if Russia doesn't return those kids, they're going to be apparently Lindsey Graham will table it's his lifelong mission now. Lindsey Graham really cares about the kids. He is going to table.
I don't even want to go there.
We're going to have to go there at some point. Lindsey Graham will table a bill in Congress.
Really cares about the kids, okay?
Yeah, he deeply. It's his life mission. His life mission, Jim. This is verbatim. Lindsey's going to the Patriot Lindsey Graham is going to go hunt down those children and threaten Russia with being called a international sponsor of terror if they don't do his wishes. Well, that's interesting.
Senator Graham is very good in writing checks in Donald Trump's name that never seem to get signed.
Isn't it? Now, normally, and we'll get to the letter and all that stuff down later in the show. Normally, if Lindsey Graham is saying something, I'm going to ignore it. This is like the same man who said he's going to put a 500% tariff on India and China for buying Russian oil, which is like Meshuggah beyond, right? Like, what are you talking about? That's not going to happen. But so easily to ignore. At the same time, however, decrying Russia as a state as a state sponsor of terror
Mm-hmm.
does come with it a whole other liturgy, I was going to say liturgy, a whole other litany of concerns, especially for people who attend ROKOR, the Russian church outside of Russia,
Sure.
because as we said on the show quite often, and what I loosely predict might happen is that if you think that what happened to the Ukrainian canonical church in Ukraine could never happen in the West,
By the way, you saw the clips of the Archbishop of Alaska greeting Putin there with icon presentation, all that sort of thing. That was all very nice. And he's not ROKOR, of course. He's OCA, but that's the Diocese of Alaska.
So I'm just reading this. Someone says, "Look, I don't hate Boomer, but let's be real. Have any of these politics really mattered on our level? I'm not saying ignore them, but this stage play is getting old."
Which I'm inclined to agree, but I want to make sure, being an old boomer and all, which politics we're talking about. We're talking about the Trump Putin summit and all the, great stuff that supposedly was happening up there, or are we talking about something else?
Yeah, you can clarify there, base preacher.
Please clarify, base preacher.
Yeah, please, because here's the thing: we drew some criticisms on our last show, and I'm sure we'll draw even more this show. I just want to be very clear on this. As I've said repeatedly over and over again, I'm not American. I've never been an American. I'm a Canadian living in Australia. I just do data analysis. That's the thing I do most often than not. I try to provide people with the best analysis possible. Jim, that's why, other than talking about your book and just because it's a good hang, that's what we do. Sorry if it upsets you. I've never commented, and I will not probably comment on Trump's domestic policies because I'm not American, and it doesn't affect me. It's cool. I support a lot of his things. I don't care. It is what it is. I don't live there. Good. When it comes to international politics, however, and geopolitics, well, that does affect me. It does affect all of us. And being having family that's Ukrainian nationalism, being part of ROKOR, all these other things, there are downstream effects that we do have to have to pay attention to. So sorry, these things do matter, and especially if we're setting the stage and the tone for future negotiations and relations between nations going forward. What we're seeing over the last week and a half is not good.
Yeah, let me jump in here. Again, base preacher sort of expanded. I guess in this case, the geopolitics, I'm not trying to be dismissive, but people my age, 30 and lower, are so checked out of this. And I think that's true. And again, maybe that's one of the things that in my old boomer mind worries me a bit. Last year, I gave a talk at the Ron Paul conference. He has quite a few young followers, even though he's 90 years old, called The Only Thing We Have to Fear is Extinction Itself. When I was that young, people actually worried about the world blowing up, everybody getting killed. There was actually a palpable fear of nuclear war. And now people are rather dismissive of the whole thing, even though we are far closer to it now than we were back during the bad old days with the Soviet Union. And I think I don't disagree with the premise of the question. People that age are not interested in this stuff. I guess they're not interested in the possibility that a bunch of maniacs running the world may kill them all. But, I can understand if it's not one's topic and one's interested in other things, either you'll die or you won't. And I can see the point, too. There's nothing you can do about it anyway. You can watch it for entertainment value to say, gee, I guess I wonder if we're all going to die this week. But there's still nothing you can do about it.
Well, the only reason I bother with this stuff at all anymore is because I look at it sort of like being a weatherman. Right. I can tell you which the storm's coming, and I can try to discern weather patterns. And sometimes we're off, and sometimes we're on, and sometimes whatever. But it's up to you to decide how you're going to what you're going to do with that weather storm. Right. Like if there's a tornado coming, maybe you can benefit from that. Maybe you can't. Maybe you need to. Maybe that information is good for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just going to hit by the tornado. I don't know. Right. I can't do things for you.
Especially since you can't strictly divorce the stuff that goes on in the world and the way things are run internally in our country. The fact is, there's one reason why marriage rates are lower than they've ever been, why young people can't afford to buy a house, why there are no real career jobs much left anymore. I mean, you go on, and a lot of it has to do with the way the whole state structure, the Federal Reserve, and all the rest of it has been structured to project global power to achieve world domination. So it's all related, and again, it does affect you. It affects you in your everyday life, even if we're not aware about it. Again, the tragedy is, what can you do about it? Not a whole hell of a lot.
No, but you can at least know what's happening and then try to structure your life around it. If there's openings or opportunities in other places. The one thing that always strikes me is this. When we can talk about Reagan and Gorbachev signing doing that signing at the end of the Cold War and a truly historic moment in time that also just led us to where we are today. So I think that's where people get distracted with the whole pomp and circumstance of the whole presentation. Everything you see is produced, all of it.
Yeah.
Whether they threw the meeting together as Jim believes, or whether I'm right and this was well planned out, the effects are the same, right? Like we can quibble over the details, but the effect is the same. What you're seeing is produced. The most brilliant giveaway for me was watching Putin and Trump talk. Putin's body language, and I'm not some body language expert, but Putin's body language and his sort of like when he was aping with the journalists who were all yelling at him and he gave this face. That's not a man who came to do serious business. I've seen videos of Putin coming to do serious business within Russia, where he has Putin face and he looks like he's about to kill somebody. He didn't have any of that at that summit. It was very loosey goosey. Hi, where's photo op? Yeah, I get it. I'm in Alaska. Why am I in Alaska? Okay, I don't know.
That was after their meetings, though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even before that, when he got off the airplane and they did the whole handshake, Putin's whole demeanor wasn't business Putin. As I've watched this guy for almost 30 years, right? Like, he's not a new person to me that just dropped in my lap of a person of interest. Like, I've been watching and paying attention to this man for a while now. So when you see a shift in his demeanor, it's not nothing. It's produced. It's like they didn't need this meeting. They could have sent Witkoff. Like, all this kind of stuff could have happened without the whole production.
I think what was going on is that you're right. What the Russians would prefer on all of this stuff is to have some experts in various areas get down and hammer out details. If there was going to be a real agreement, which, by the way, there's not going to be, but if there was going to be, you send some experts to hash it all out, come up with all details, cross the T's, dot the I's, and all that, and then the big boys show up at the end to sign it, and the cameras flash, and you're done. You don't. I think what happened was Trump needed this meeting to wiggle out of the corner he had painted himself into, and Putin wanted to accommodate him by having the meeting and giving him a way out and see if there's any way there can be a productive discussion with the Americans. And I think they found out, pretty much what we thought. The answer is no. And that's why Trump then wriggled out of that, came back and said, "Oh, we made great progress, and now I'm going to go talk to the seven dwarfs in Washington, and get them lined up." Now shifting gears from ceasefire to security guarantees, which is the new watchword. Now let's have the summit with all three of us, and we'll sign the deal. I mean, the thing is just a fiasco. And all the people now who are saying, "Oh, peace is about to break out. The war is nearly over. Putin and Trump are going to make a deal that goes over the head of the Europeans and Zelensky, and they're going to make peace." None of that's going to happen, Jason. None of that's going to happen.
Well, it can't happen. Okay, we'll put it this way, because maybe something does happen, right? Just let's future-proof us a little bit, right? There is a possibility that all these three people sit down and there's a big giant signing of a thing, and we all go, "Yay, peace in our time." And what we know from what NATO's done, and all these guarantees that were given to the Soviet Union, the then Soviet Union, and then later on the Russian Republic, and the Federation, under even to Putin, not 1 inch further, right? NATO will not expand. Well, NATO expanded, right? NATO expanded. No, we're never going to actually do any kind of military actions in Eastern Europe. Cue Serbia. So in the 1990s, like maybe we're too old for this internet. Maybe was base preachers here saying that people under 30 just don't have a recollection of this. But let's go back in time a little bit, because the title of the show is called Then and Now.
Let's go back in time.
Right? To Reagan and Gorbachev. I was 12 years old when the wall was falling. Right? When Reagan said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall." I have a bad Reagan impersonation. But and of course, Gorbachev couldn't have torn down the wall. It wasn't in his power to tear down the wall. But the wall was being torn down. Not to mention, a few other Eastern European leaders, East German leaders being East Germanized. Let's say being shown the adoration of the public. Romania would also follow suit in this trend. So, but this thing was falling apart, right? There was a big summit. Of course, afterwards, where Gorbachev and Reagan, the two leaders of these two opposing nations, this Cold War that they had inherited, they signed the declarations ending the Cold War, which leads to missile proliferation treaties and all these fine things that, of course, get undone systematically through future American administrations. They don't even wait. The ink has been barely dry on the declarations before NATO starts expanding, and then of course under George W. Bush, Jr. tears up the nuclear proliferation, the nuclear act, the missile act.
The ABM treaty.
Exactly. Thank you. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to the point where we get to they're putting missiles in Ukraine at decapitation range to Moscow. And expecting Putin and co. to act unlike any other nation in the world who goes, no, that's fine, that's cool. We're totally okay with that.
Decapitation, we got no problem. We don't really enjoy these things.
What? That's come on. We could use a refurbishment. Please bomb the old Soviet buildings. We could use the excuse to rebuild them. Bring us back, Jim, because you're okay. So the year is what, 1989, or thereabouts. You're working within the government at this point. What's the mood? What's the flavor? Bring us back to that time to explain sort of that prehistoric meeting, the first historic meeting between Russia and America.
Well, I can't remember the specific meeting. I mean, obviously you had the Reykjavik summit, which was the big one between Reagan and Gorbachev, the so-called walk in the woods, where the two leaders sort of worked out the rules of how they were going to proceed. But remember, this was being worked out with the Soviet Union, with Gorbachev as the first, and it turns out the only president of the Soviet Union. And remember too, that not too long after that, we had the first Gulf War, which the Soviets signed on as, it's essentially in support of the United States, as already enlisting as Tonto to our own Ranger. So they not only accepted the end of the Cold War, but that they would be a junior partner of the United States going forward. No doubt, expecting us to honor our assurances about not expanding NATO to the east and so on and so forth. Of course, what happened after that was then the Soviet Union itself fell apart. And I think that's where we have to focus on the bigger picture here, which is it was always the American plan not to accept a respectful relationship with a post-communist, whatever, non-Soviet Union, whatever it turned out to be, but always to bring it under our control and break it up and loot it. And now we didn't break it up. Well, actually, we broke up the Soviet Union, but then there were also then plans to break up what was left of the Soviet Union in the form of Russia after we got all the other former republics under our control, Ukraine being the big one. So this is a long-term program, but it really depends on what the view was from Washington. And frankly, I don't know that Reagan necessarily had any of this in mind. I think he was actually a pretty good-hearted guy in many respects. I mean, he from all the I never met him in person, but from the people who did know him, He said he had genuine fear of nuclear war. When he said the nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought, he was really sincere about that. And that's one of the chilling things in the paper I mentioned about we have nothing to fear but extinction itself. It's amazing how cavalier people are in the Western countries. I don't think they are in Russia, but in the Western countries, how cavalier they are about the idea of a peer conflict, the idea of going to war with Russia, the premier nuclear power on the planet, going to war with China. I mean, if you had said that in 1985, hey, I've got a great plan to go to the war with the Soviet Union, people would have been appalled. They would have thought you're some kind of nutcase. What, you want us all to die? But nowadays, even though the stakes are at least as potentially deadly, oh yeah, sure. Hey, we're going to seize Kaliningrad. What are they going to do about it? It's really just it's unbelievable. It really is.
Well, it's the same kind of mentality where you see these pro-Iran, going to war with Iran kind of situation. Like, are you out your mind? Like, do you understand the absolute logistics you'd have to be even successful of capturing 10% of Iran, let alone it's a mountainous region.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to involve yourself in a land war.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, which is why either they could go two routes.
Yeah, exactly.
One is use nuclear weapons and just kill everybody. That's one way to do it. And the other way to do it is a decapitation, try to install a friendly regime there, which is the way generally the second one is our preferred method. We prefer to have color revolutions, coups, assassinations, whatever you need to put our puppet in place of whoever the leader is we don't like. And that works pretty well in many cases. I mean, in the case of Russia, we had somebody there in the 1990s. We thought we had the place under lock and key and all was good to go. And then it turned out that his hand-picked successor was not what we thought he was going to be.
Talk to me about that, because Putin's ascension into the ranks of was president at the time, right? Wasn't even prime minister. Always mystifies me, because that almost feels like the proto-Trump, right? Where how the narrative, let's say this, right? In 2016, Trump was promoted by Hillary and her camp as a lame duck. He's going to be the easy defeat. That doesn't happen. He gets in. Right. Oops, right? Like, massive reshuffling of everything has to happen all of a sudden, right? I feel in some ways Putin's the same thing, because the story goes that you have Yeltsin in, and Yeltsin's an embarrassment, and everyone knows he's an embarrassment, and feeding into Russian nihilism. And then it was a post-Christmas speech, I think, or right before Christmas. I can't remember exactly when. This guy called Putin shows up, a young Putin, shows up on Russian TV and says, I'm your new Russian president, and this is where we're going forward. And everyone's like, who? What?
Exactly. Yeah.
Was that the feeling in state as well? Was that the feeling?
I think so. I think that people thought that, Yeltsin was, a drunk and a buffoon and all that, but they kind of figured that this guy was just a gray bureaucratic nobody, and that he would be easily pushed around by the oligarchic interests that controlled the Yeltsin administration. Because after all, he was handpicked by Yeltsin, evidently mostly concerned about protecting his and his cronies' lootings that they took on while they were in office, and that's a deal. That's a deal that was honored, and but I don't know what really triggered the change. Somebody here again, base preachers asking, Putin just worries me because it's hard to tell if he's being genuine or just another talking head. To tell the truth, I don't know either. I'm not a mind reader. And I know people who follow these things very closely, have sources that are a lot better than mine, and they can't quite figure it out either. I mean, there's some people I know that think he is just an empty suit, that he is basically just representing a somewhat different shuffle of oligarchic interests, including the power ministries now that have reasserted themselves. But deep down, he's basically a non-entity who will sell out Russia's interests at the earliest opportunity if he thinks that will somehow help get Russia back into the club, back to the G8 and all that nonsense, which frankly isn't going to happen. I don't know. Yeah.
Let's put it this way too, because it's something we talked about too, is that I think the misread on the American side is that they believe that the president actually has sovereignty. Now, this is a Curtis
You're
Jarvis.
talking about we're back to the United States now, not Russia. Right?
I think we can go back and forth here, right? Because I think the misnomer here is that the man in charge, the president, the king, the icon, whatever, whoever's in charge, and especially when you take something like with Russia and China, where Putin has basically set himself up as president, leader for life, formal or informal. Prime Minister, President, my sister, my daughter, and she's the same way.
Chinatown.
Right? It's Russia town, Chinatown, Russia town. Right? So it's more blatant in those in when we're looking at those systems. The American system, we think, well, there's we turn out these every 4 years. You can change guy, but the misread is how much sovereignty the president actually has. Now, Curtis Jarvis talked quite a bit about this and saying that the president can seize informal power and become, like FDR, a de facto king, in so much as the executive has a whole bunch of power that they can or cannot use. The same thing as the King of England, right? The King of England technically could seize all the land here in Australia tomorrow if he wanted to.
Yeah, I don't think.
But he's not. Yeah, but I'm saying that opens up a whole bunch of other kind of things.
I don't think Chucky's up to that. No,
neither do I. But I'm saying that technically, right, formally, he could do that. So I think the big misread with Xi and Putin is thinking that they're sovereign. I don't think they are. I think they're representatives of a oligarchic group that isn't the money oligarchs, the guys with the big giant yachts. It's the guys, it's the inner Duma, right? The deep state, the whoever, right? The people working for the other people, because they're all working for the same
Jason,
people.
Look, to sum it up, all governments at heart are oligarchies. All governments are oligarchies of one set or another. The only question is how small is the circle of oligarchs that run the thing, and who are they exactly? The Soviet Union was an oligarchy. It wasn't run by the same kind of corporate oligarchs as we have, because it was all socialist property. But on the other hand, there were ministries, there were enterprises, they were publicly owned enterprises, but they all had a seat at the table. And they used to refer to the bureaucratic patrimony of various stakeholders in the Soviet system. Now, ultimately, the Politburo was the ultimate representative of those oligarchs. So you had a pretty good sense who could speak for those interests. In America, it's much more diffuse and much, frankly, oddly enough, I think at this point, even more bureaucratic than the Soviet Union was, because there is so much that is essentially on autopilot. Whether it's in the corporate world or in the government agencies and so forth, they just do what they do. Hey, and let's go all the way back to, Jack Kennedy. I mean, at some point, the president learns who really is in control in this country, and it ain't him.
Right. Talking about, we'll get back to the summit in a second, but talking about summits, you, sir, are going to be part of the Expat Money Online Summit in October 10th to the 12th, created by Mikhail Thorup, the host of the Expat Money Show. And of course, our friend of mine in the channels, Mark Clare, will be the host of your particular summit. Your panel is going to be the geopolitical hotspots, the riskiest regions in 2025 and beyond. I'm pretty excited about this. This kind of just fell in our lap, but I'm excited to have you there. Any idea what you're going to be talking about?
Not a damn thing. I mean,
good night, everybody.
The only thing that I would actually know something about that would be relevant to this group, not that they can do anything about it, is FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, which I almost got repealed in 2017. Missed it by this much. And I would have felt it would have been like one of the Grand Slam home runs of my life if it had succeeded, because it's really a pernicious bill. It's basically the heart of a worldwide global financial surveillance system, starting essentially with making every foreign financial institution, in other words, any non-U.S. financial institution, essentially the eyes and ears of the IRS. and and the other thing is it's just stunning in its extraterritorial effect. In other words, you have a U.S. law that only applies to every financial institution outside the United States, over which they have no legal jurisdiction whatsoever, except with the threat of sanctions, which is how we do business. So it's really just, and it's amazing how foreign governments, including Russia, by the way, and China, fell into line. They said, "Oh, there's a law that's governing our institutions inside of our countries. Sure, we'll comply." Now, that's maybe one of the things they're going to escape from with this, whatever this BRICS financial alternative is, and so on and so forth. But that's about the only thing I know about expats.
Well, I mean, the Expat Money online summit, we advertised them last year. I tuned in last year. They cover a whole range of issues. Mostly how to legally protect your wealth, secure second residences and citizenship, reduce your tax burden, and own property abroad. All to safeguard your freedom, patriots.
Free dope.
This year, the focus of this year's summit is Latin America, where opportunity is booming. Argentina is shifting to free markets. El Salvador is undergoing dramatic transformation, and Panama and Paraguay.
Wait. Does this involve Judge Napolitano?
No, but I don't know. Maybe.
Well, the reason I ask, I just was listening to his program, and he's doing some kind of a program over the next few weeks about people moving abroad and buying property abroad, and the focus is Latin America.
Well, look,
is that a coinky dink?
We started covering this along with Matt Erickson back in 2023 or 2024, talking about Prospera, and Prospera is this sort of like test ground. And this Prospera is in Honduras. You're seeing a lot of these other ones sprouting up all over Africa as well, and Latin America. I suspect El Salvador is a de facto version of this. These are all, by the way, Theo network kind of things. Smart cities, right? Smart cities where they're going in and cleaning up, putting in some order, perhaps some geofencing, some other interesting, funny little stuff, which we can go back and forth on the morality of all these things, but it's more like, again, this is weather patterns, right? This is what's happening. This is what is going to happen. Digital ID is happening. It's going to be part of our lives. If you're going to be on the internet, if you don't want to be on the internet, then go live in a cabin in the woods, and there's your option, right? Like, you can do that, but these things are happening. And if you follow what's happening in Prospera in Honduras, and then seeing the effects, I think the future effects in El Salvador, Panama, many of these other places, they're being transformed. They're being recreated. And, we can, again, moral, immoral, antichrist, system of the beast, sure. But in the meantime, there's opportunities for those who want to seize those opportunities. And the online, the Expat Money Summit gives you that information to make those decisions. So it's a good one to check out. And of course, Mark Claire is a good man. We like to promote everything that he's connected to. So just reading from here, whether you're looking for an exit plan now or want to secure your offshore plan B as political insurance, this event is absolutely insurance.
That's the same phrase that Napolitano used. I wonder if these two things are connected somehow.
They might be. We'll see. Maybe you're going to be on a panel with Napolitano.
You give my Napolitano impersonation. It's like, it's like, little Goomba. What are you gonna do? It's me. It's actually me, Jim. If I don't quit smoking now, if I keep smoking for 20 years, this is what I'm going to sound like in 20 years. It's a wonderful thing. Jim Jatras, it's great to have you on the show. Have you on the show with Napolitano. Napolitano now is what we're going to call the show from now on. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, I can think of one good reason not to move to Latin America. No Second Amendment.
Hey, if you want to see Jim on this panel, you can sign up right now.
Yeah,
there's VIP tickets. If you use a coupon code now, you get 20% off on your VIP tickets. So, and the links are in the description below.
That's the same deal. He said 20% off too. When I heard him, this got to be the same thing.
I'm Jim. I'm gonna talk like this from now on. This is now the Jim Napolitano show. Welcome, folks. We have Jim Jatras on the show. Jim, good to see you. I'd love to see you. Look at the punim on this one. I don't know why
My Napolitano is an Italian Jew, apparently. So
yeah.
go over to expatmoneysummit.com. That's expatmoneysummit.com. expatmoneysummit.com. Use your coupon code now to get 20% off VIP tickets. There's also free. You can check out a lot of the panels for free. You don't get all the VIP doodads and perks, but you can always check them out. And I know they do replays, at least in I think it's 24-hour window, so you can always check those out. And I will try to be in attendance as well, at least for Jim's show, because we support those who we love. We love Jim, don't we, folks?
Based Preacher says, I just want enough money to raise a family while doing some honest work. But despite companies having production skyrocket, we can't have wages that help our goals. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I think it's let's speak on this really briefly. I think if we are following the previous model, the problem is that you desire. Okay, let's put it this way. I was actually formulating this morning. The problem is that a lot of young men are being told to want what everyone wants. So you're being told to want a wife and a child and a house. Now, all those things are good things to want. All those good things are historical.
Wait. You have to be told to want those things?
No, but actually, well, people are being told that now.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if you don't. Yeah. I don't know if you need to, but that's what they're being told, and that's fair. The thing is that you have to understand is that, I guess the question is, like, why do you want it, right? Do you want it just to have it? Because you can have the house and the wife and the child and be a horrible homeowner, husband and husband.
Well, actually, to tell the truth, Jason, a lot of people are not in a position to have those things.
Right.
I mean, I think that was part of the point he was making, is that a lot of young guys today feel that, the bottom rungs on the ladder just aren't there in terms of, starting off in life and making enough money to support a family. How many guys in the world today, they're basically live in what they call the gig economy, where they get gigs. They don't really have a career or a real job or something that they can count on.
Right. I mean, I think this is where
let's not get started talking about the chicks.
Yeah, well, but the thing, this is where they blame the boomers for everything, Jim, and yeah. I think this is
they're mostly right.
Well, hang on, there is room for it, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, is that there's a blip in history. So yes, the boomers were able to benefit in this little blip in history that was unprecedented. The 20s. This is something that Thomas 77 has talked about, and Thomas 777 might be coming on next week, folks. You heard it here. To talk about some geopolitics and teach you Peckerwood some stuff. But here's the thing: is that if the 20th century in many ways is sort of an anomaly, right? Where you don't have, up until the 20th century, ideological wars in the same way. Now we can go back maybe 1,000 years before that and talk about religious wars and extermination of
like 300 years before, yeah,
right. Yeah. But but for a huge part of liberal Western democracy systems, you don't see that. And then all of a sudden in the 20th century, it's not about just conquering land; it's about extinguishing those who have alternative ideas than you, alternative politics than you. And so the boomers just come at this blip at the end of 2 world wars, a Great Depression, a complete restructuring of everything on a global scale, and they benefited from it. And you want what they had, and that's understandable.
Especially since, remember, the boomers did not build that world. The greatest and the silent generations built it. We were the beneficiaries of it, and then we screwed it all up. Although you're right, the whole thing was kind of a big exception. I mean, even though we were living in an ideological world, one that was divided by ideology between, the U.S.-led bloc and the Soviet-led bloc, which was based on ideology, although also on geopolitics, and even deeper currents of history, that we inherited. I mean, that's one reason why us boomers are such a wealthy generation, because we inherited all that wealth from the people who were born in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and then we ended up with a big pile of wealth from those generations. And then they basically screwed up the system that created the wealth.
Right. And then also that same system is trying to seize all that wealth.
Yeah,
if you start to look at a lot of the moves in the last, let's say, 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the only thing I keep seeing is asset seizure. It's like
Yeah.
putting their big straw in the milkshake of all these retirees and all these programs that are untenable.
Well,
They
the
were
2008
designed,
crash, COVID,
right,
all the rest of it. Yeah.
just trying to seize
Yeah.
all that retirement
Yeah.
funds, like
Mm-hmm.
just taxing the crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Australia, we're seeing taxes on superannuations, people's retirement funds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like sucking it all in
Yeah.
one way, shape, or form, and
Mhm.
getting ready for this demographic collapse that we're
Mhm.
already experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you have infinite immigrants. These people aren't complicated. They're just trying to maintain a system where they get to grab as much money and put it in their pockets until it collapses, and then they move on to the next thing and go, oh, well, Project Ukraine. We'll get back to that. It's just that. It's unfortunately, and I, Jim and you and I have been talking about this how many shows now, and it only became we started talking about this late last year when I had you on for the Tales of the Shadow Empire, and what started becoming obvious to me at that point was this is human sacrifice. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
In the most nonsensical way. And then you pull it forward. It's like, well, that's what it is. Now, there might be good military reasons for it from the Russian side, or we can go back and forth on it. What it comes down to is it's human sacrifice. And once you get to that point, there's no other, you don't need to think about it anymore. Like it's like, well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And feel about what you want to feel about it. The same thing with the economy. The reason why, if you're a young man, I guess you're a Zoomer or younger, the reason why you're not getting a leg up is because you're not supposed to. The natural history of the natural progression of this world is never giving you a leg up. It's like if you want a leg up, you have to go join the army or sacrifice in some ways, and maybe if you survive, you get some gibs.
Okay,
that's living in history.
But back what you said earlier, you said they've been told to want these things, a life, a job, family, and all that stuff. Again, I don't know you have to be told to want those things, but they're certainly being put in a position where they can't have those things. Because if you look at so many of our policies, again, not just the financial and economic ones or the global geopolitical ones, obviously the other ones having to do with COVID or the Skittles and all that other kind of stuff, they all conspire to accomplish one thing: no marriage, no family formation, and no kids.
Sure,
so
but
it's the extinction program.
I agree with you, Jim. But the other thing that's acting on that is people's expectation to live at a certain standard. You can go live in a trailer park, right? You can go have go get married at 18 and live in a trailer park and have six kids.
What you're saying. Yeah.
Right? No one's preventing you at this point from doing that. You can do that. No one wants that because you look at that and on all the media and all the attention saying, well, that's
just try telling the chick, hey, listen, we're going to be really poor and live in a trailer and have lots of kids.
Well,
how many girls is that going to attract?
Meet a really poor girl. Like meet someone with limited expectations, Jim.
Here's your trailer park. Where do I sign up?
It's got an indoor bathroom. Come on, look at this thing. Whoa. Look at this thing. Look, you can kick the tires the whole 9 yards. But
well, all right. Maybe you got me there.
Right. No, but I'm serious. It's that you. This is something that Don the Plebs brought up quite a bit.
Hey, wait a minute. Maybe that's what's missing. You have all these dating sites with the various kind of things. Where is poor dating? Where is people where go online and find a potential spouse who is as poor as you are?
Lowered expectations.
Hey, that would be the name of the sites.
Well, it's an old Mad TV. It's an old
lower
Mad
your
TV
expectations.
Lower your expectations. Shoot within your own means, man. Like
that's right.
Lowered
expectations. The site where even you can be a winner.
Right. Look, you wanted kids in the family, right? Sure, she's got one eye and one leg, and she whistles when she's talked. But man, she can cook some gumbo. Come on now. It's like what do you want, right?
That's right.
Don the Plebs talked about this quite a bit, and I agree with him. Is that yes, if you're saying that, oh, woe is me, I can't live in New York City in Upper Manhattan for less than $5,000 a month and own property, it's like, yeah, you're right. That sucks. right?
Yeah.
Then, but you can go live in Alabama for half that
Yeah.
and have maybe not a deluxe house. It's run down. It needs it needs
Yeah.
some work, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, your wife isn't a 10. She's a solid
Mhm.
5, but
Mhm.
she loves you and she wants to have kids,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
have kids and you can do all these things. It's just but your expectation is, but I want to live in the penthouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's being sold to you. And
That's what you're
also
saying.
what's happening to women is that they think
Mhm.
they deserve to live in a penthouse. It's like, you don't, why do you think you
Well,
deserve these
well,
things?
especially since among younger people, the chicks are making more money than the guys are. That doesn't help.
Right. Yeah. Well, welcome to my world.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
where my wife
Yeah.
keeps giving me these side eyes like,
That's right.
this better start
It's
making some money, kid. That being said,
all of
I forgot to mention, sorry, Jim.
Jason, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me do some grift. You can also send some money over to the show. Appreciate all the love and support. Send some money over to PayPal. I'm upgrading the studio. So send some money to help with the refurbishments, so that we can do the live show. We'll have a new live show up next week. Tomorrow. I haven't decided time, but we're going to be playing around, going to deep into Orthodoxy and many other things. So if you enjoy those kind of topics, and we're going to integrate a whole bunch of things, but in order to do that, I need some help. So any kind of financial assistance you can throw our way would be greatly appreciated. You can send over Streamlabs, links in the description below, in the chat, and all the other things, or over on YouTube and all the other things. So I appreciate each and every one. Sorry, Jim, I cut you off.
No, not at all. I forget what I was saying.
Something wise.
I'm sure it was. I mean, just look at this beard.
The Elder Jatras is in effect. Okay, let's get to okay. So, sorry, drop my lighter. Patriot Peace Summit, right? We had it. The Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin had their moment in the sun.
Yeah.
Nothing's decided. No ceasefires now. Apparently, Kellogg deal is off the table. Kellogg wasn't even invited to the summit. Witkoff was there.
Yeah, Witkoff was there.
Oddly, interesting enough, too. So was Scott Bessent, and of course, Russia rolled out everybody from the mayor of Moscow all the way down, which is a very Russian thing to do. Mostly, I think they just wanted to go to see. Want to go see Alaska? Yes, I would like to see Alaska.
That's right.
We find bear. There's a video of the guy finding the bear in the woods.
They looked up the value on Zillow.com and think they can buy it.
It looks a lot like Russia. I understand why we used to this.
This looks familiar.
Yeah, it's Vladivostok. It's Vladivostok in the summer. It's very much similar to this.
Yeah. I look, I think it was designed to be mostly kind of a photo op to get, as I say, get Trump out of his corner, for Putin to say, sure, we'll keep talking.
Well, get the ball rolling, right? Like,
we'll get the ball rolling, but the question is rolling to where? And I think a lot of people are taking this, oh, well, Trump now has dropped the ceasefire, and now he's talking about a final agreement, and they're taking that to the bank, that somehow this is a big shift in American policy. I don't think it really is. I think it's basically another way to try to skin the cat and draw the Russians in to an agreement that's a bad agreement for them. But by shifting the focus, say, oh, no, we're going to go directly to a final agreement that will involve security guarantees and a bunch of European troops coming into Ukraine. As if and I've seen reports saying, and the Russians agree to that. I don't think the Russians agree to that. I think the Russians maybe agreed, oh yeah, well, security in Europe, that's very important to us. That's what we proposed in our draft treaties in December of 2021. They're not going to agree unless they've completely lost their minds, or unless they're already expecting to go to war in the not too distant future, to allow any kind of assurance force into Ukraine.
Here's Trump on his peace process. It's from Fox and Friends.
Very good call. And I told him that we're going to set up a meeting with President Zelensky, and you and he will meet. And then after that meeting, if everything works out, okay, I'll meet and we'll wrap it up. But, it takes, in this case, two to tango. They have to have somewhat of a relationship. Otherwise, we're just wasting a lot of time. I don't want to be doing that I just want to end it. I want to end it. We're not losing American lives. We're not losing American soldiers. We're losing Russian and Ukrainian, mostly soldiers, some people as missiles hit wrong spots or get lobbed into cities like Kiev and towns. But, if I can save 7,000 people a week from being killed, I think that's I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. But if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons. We had a very good.
So Trump showing some not very characteristic humility, saying that he's not high on the totem pole to get to heaven, but if this is something he can do in order to get to heaven, that he'd be interested in doing that to end the war, save some lives. We'll get to Kelsey Graham's recent announcements about saving the children and Melania's letter. But what do you think about that, Jim? I'm
honestly,
curious about your reaction.
I'm sure on some level it's sincere. It is sincere, but I don't know how sincere it is. Like it is, like I say, he's not necessarily that worried about the children or other places in the world where the U.S. is much more directly responsible. So, I'll take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure there's something to it, but I don't know how much. And again, it's still this pretense, Jason, that somehow we're not involved in this damn thing. That somehow it's, you and Zelensky need to play nice. You boys need to, come together and I can be the broker here. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is a proxy war by the United States and NATO against Russia. He must know that on some level. He wants to pretend it's not the case. Okay, fine. But, at some point, I just can't take it all that seriously.
No, exactly. So let's get to. Let me just find the bookmark here.
You looking for the bishop?
No, well, we can play that as well. There is Vladimir Putin meeting with the Bishop of Alaska, which in Orthodox spheres. Here it is. It's from World War Now. This drew some attention.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some speculation about this. I'd like to hear your take on it. Here's Vladimir Putin meeting with the Archbishop of Alaska.
Mm-hmm. Good afternoon, Vladika, once again.
Хочу передать вам самые наилучшие пожелания от святейшего патриарха Московской и всей Руси Алексия.
I would like to give you the best greetings from His Holiness Patriarch of Moscow along of Russia, Kirill.
Мы с ним встречались перед моей поездкой сюда.
I met him before my trip here.
Он мне сам рассказал о том, как здесь зарождалась православная церковь.
He personally told me how the Russian Orthodox Church was established here.
Рассказал о том, что он здесь тоже был на службе.
He told me he'd been to Alaska and he assisted at the divine service.
С большой теплотой очень отзывался обо всем.
And he spoke with great warmth about his recollections.
Вам самые наилучшие пожелания.
And he asked me to give you his best greetings.
И я хотел бы на память вам вручить некоторые подарки.
And I would like to present you some small gifts as a token.
Герман Аляскинский.
This is Saint Herman of Alaska.
И он, насколько я понимаю, является покровителем с точки зрения православной церкви, является покровителем Америки.
And as far as I understand, he is the patron saint of America in the Orthodox tradition.
Yes. Что вам всего самого доброго. Спасибо.
So I would like to wish you all the best.
Thank you so very much.
Благодарю вас.
Thoughts, Jim?
I think it was very well done. I mean, I think it was a good move by Putin. I think it was a good move by the bishop as well. I think that was at least looking at the way it was conducted, it was appropriate. I don't know, we didn't see the whole meeting that they were sort of left off at the end, but I wonder if the bishop deliberately put his hands on his staff as Putin approached, so as not to put him in the position of either having to shake hands with a layman or with a layman wanting to receive a blessing and kiss his hand, because that may have been, an awkward gesture at that time. So if he puts his hand on his staff, it sort of eliminates the hand greeting at that point. So that probably was a good move on his part.
Yeah, well, someone says he looked awkward. I mean, for those who haven't been in
Yeah.
the presence of an archbishop or of even a priest,
Mhm.
these things can feel a bit awkward because you are how do I put it? It's off-putting. It's
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're being very conscientious of everything you're doing because everything you're doing carries
Mhm.
weight. Like even just kissing the icon, putting his forehead
Mhm.
to it, like it's a very small,
Right. Right.
it's a small little detail, but it's important. It's part
Mhm.
of the ritual. It's something that you need to be. You're in the presence of a very holy man, who technically, if we've gone back and forth, not necessarily on this show. I know others have done it with, is Putin really Orthodox? Is he, how Orthodox is he, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
From the looks of that, I think he's pretty Orthodox. Like, he's not brazen. He's doing he's bringing his
Yeah.
voice
Yeah.
down. There's a proper amount of respect there, and there's almost a recognition that there's a hierarchy here, and he's speaking to someone who's actually at a higher hierarchy than he, even though he's not the Archbishop of Alaska is not Russian. Um,
Mhm.
you know. So, anyways, maybe you can go on with that.
Well, the other thing, of course, too, is that we just saw, I think, the first half of the meeting where Putin did all the talking. And so
Right.
he obviously is standing and waiting and not interrupting him while he says whatever he wants to say. But as I recall, then later he says something about, the church in Alaska and things, that sort, how the Russians brought the faith here and that sort of thing. So, and of course, he's saying that in English. And, I think, too, that it's important that I think both sides understood that Putin is not speaking to a representative of a Russian church in America. He's speaking to an American church.
Right.
And because it's been there for over 200 years, and I don't know anything about the bishop. I don't think he's Russian. And
I
of
don't
course,
believe
most
so.
of
No.
the flock are, and most of the flock are basically Yupik and Tlingit and other native tribes.
Let's get to Melania's letter to Trump, because this is a shot and chaser kind of moment as well. Let's share this over here. I'll read it out to the best of my ability. So this is a letter from Melania to Putin. Again, written in English, which is awfully nice of her. From August 15, 2025. Dear President Putin, every child shares the same quiet dreams in their heart, whether born randomly into a nation's rustic countryside or magnificent city center. They dream of the love, possibly, and safety from danger. As parents, it is our duty to nurture the next generation's hope. As leaders, the responsibility to sustain our children's extends beyond the comfort of a few. Undeniably, we must strive to paint a dignity-filled world for all, so that every soul may wake up to peace, and that our future itself is perfectly guarded. A simple yet profound concept, Mr. Putin, as I'm sure you agree, is that each generation's descendants begin their lives of purity, an innocence which stands above geography, government, and ideology. Yet in today's world, some children are forced to carry a quiet laughter, untouched by the darkness around them, a silent defense against the forces that can be perpetually claim their future. Mr. Putin, you can single-handedly restore their melodic laughter. In protecting their innocence of these children, you'll do more than serve Russia alone. You will serve humanity itself. Such a bold idea transcends all human division, and you, Mr. Putin, are fit to implement this vision with a stroke of the pen today. It is time. Sincerely, Melania Trump. Now, on the face of it, this looks like, hey, end the war for the children's sake, right? Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough reason to do anything. Don't have children born to war zones, et cetera, et cetera. But then this letter is picked up by Ursula von der Leyen, who brings it up during the meeting they had with Trump on Monday.
Yeah.
And let me just share this here. And then Lindsey Graham, Patriot Lindsey Graham. It pains me to, I can't even make that joke. Lindsey Graham is one of those few people who are like, I'm like, God, he just really tests my Christian ethics, right? You know, it's like, come on, God, give me one, just one, can this be the one where, you know, this is from the New York Post. President Trump allies Senator Lindsey Graham threatened to champion bipartisan legislation designating Russia as state sponsor of terrorism over the kidnappings of Ukrainian children unless Moscow returns them. Throughout its brutal war in Ukraine, Russia has been accused of abducting over 20,000 Ukrainian children, putting some of them up for adoption with the goal of raising them to be Russian. I intend to push... I should do it in Lindsey Graham's voice. I intend to push the return of these children until I cannot push no more.
Oh my! Oh my!
Oh my! Oh my!
The Thapers. I'm getting the Thapers.
Get me.
Wait, hold on a second. Now,
did me a julep.
Refer to the letter?
James, get me a julep. I am feeling verklempt. It is humid up in here in Georgia. Sorry, you were saying?
Did he refer to the letter?
We'll get to that. I don't believe he refers to the letter in this post, but we'll see. We'll see. Not from what I read. So I intend to push the return of these children until I can't push anymore. Phrasing, pal. Graham vowed on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures. If they do not return these children to Ukraine, the 19,000. Now we're already down to 19,000. Then I'm hoping to push legislation to make Russia a state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law, the South Carolina Republican said, warning such a move would make Russia radioactive. Estimates of the children abducted by Russia vary, with some Ukrainian officials pegging it closer to 35,000. And then we can go down, but you get the general idea. So, yeah, this is why these things matter. To answer that question from before.
Right.
Sorry.
All right.
Because
and you say that Ursula von der Leyen also weighed in on this.
She brought up Melania's letter, saying that she essentially she co-signs the letter in her own little way. Saying she agrees that yes, Russia needs to address the future of Ukrainian and Russian children.
First off, I think a few things. One is I don't know what the truth is of these allegations about the children. I find it a little bit lacking of credibility that the Russians are, it'd be the equivalent of, what is it, the Dev Shirmei, when the Turks stole Christian children in the Balkans and turned them into janissaries, I suppose.
The eternal Hun.
I just find it, I find it very difficult to believe that the Russians are doing this. No cases, for example, in the Balkans during the wars in the 90s, when people took efforts to try to get civilians out of, a dangerous situation between warring parties, and then they were promptly accused of ethnic cleansing. Oh, you're moving people out of their homes. Then you're guilty of X, Y, and Z. When they were just what they were trying to do is simply trying to get people out of danger. So I can believe that there were children who moved out of places where fighting was taking place and maybe were taken into Russia. I don't know that they're being raised to be Russians and turned, anyway, so there's that. Secondly, I find it hard to believe that this letter from Melania was Melania's idea, or not to mention that she didn't write that letter. In other words, something is behind this. Somebody's behind this. Maybe this was coordinated with Linda Graham. I don't know. But this was, I think, an attempt to sort of throw Putin a curveball and say, oh, here's another way we could put some pressure on you and put won't somebody please think of the children behind it, so that, has a little bit of heartstring appeal to it.
Well, also, let's look at this other angle, right? Which it could be a misdirection cover-up. So, again, in Minecraft, right? Allegedly. High, big, giant, allegedly. What do we think is most likely? That Putin and the Russians, who, again, there are mobsters and very bad, evil people living in Russia as well, who do big, bad, evil things. So I'm not discounting the possibility that that big, bad, evil Russian people are doing big, bad, evil things. Okay, let's get that off across.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: who do you think? So the allegation is that Russia is going into these areas that they're warring over.
Yeah,
that supposedly they're going to.
The Russian state is doing it somehow.
Right. Well, hang on. That
Yeah.
they're going to take over, right, and essentially administer. They're going to bring Donbass, Luhansk, and all these other oblasts into the Russian Federation, and their game plan is to steal children, the future generation, from those children, and sell them on the black market. Is that the allegation? Because that doesn't make sense. But also, let's follow this way: is that Ukraine, even today, I would think, is one of the most corrupt places on earth, filled with a bunch of really nasty mobsters and other
criminal
people
gangs
who've been accused of human trafficking
deal
and
also,
right.
and also organ trafficking.
Exactly. I mean, you might as well accuse Russia of
But
putting
we saw
those.
that in Kosovo during the Kosovo War.
Yeah, what's the new accusation? Is that Russia was building those biolabs in Ukraine? Those bloody Russians building those biolabs in Ukraine in 2014? Like what? Right? Again, I'm not absolving the possibility of Russia doing anything. At the same time, the most likely scenario is Ukraine was doing all these things, and now the big cover is, we're missing 35,000 odd children, right, from these regions or from Ukraine in general, because we're not even told what regions are missing from, and it's those damn Russians who did it. Not us. Don't look at the inner cabal. Maybe why they're suppressing the Epstein files is that when you dig into it, you find out, there's this whole like network, this whole global network that extends into places like Ukraine and other places. I'm just throwing it out there as a suppose, maybe. I don't know. Could be. Yeah. Because the same people who have been suppressing the Epstein files and suppressing all these other things, and Lindsey Graham, who if I were to hazard a guess, might like him some trafficking of some things. Just saying, maybe, possibly, right?
Wildly within the range of possibility, I suppose.
Never going to stop. He'll never stop pushing, Jim. He'll never stop pushing for those children. He's going to push and push. That's where we're going to have this clip. I'm going to push for those children to my dying day, Jim. I declare, it is my life's mission.
Are you sure you're not American? You're too good at that. That doesn't sound Canadian at all.
I've been consuming your media for too long. That's my it's my cross to bear.
I suppose so.
Right.
Yeah.
But
anyway. And the other, by the way, John Helmer, I don't know if you're familiar with his work. Dances with Bears is his website. It's called John Helmer something or other. Yeah, and I saw a presentation he did earlier today. He referred to this letter, and he suggested, and again, I'm not in a position to verify this, that there was some corrupt aspect to this as well in terms of money changing hands. I don't know by whom or for whom, but that there, again, because when you talk about Ukraine being a very corrupt country, that corruption extends into Washington as well.
Of course.
And because there's a lot of money from Ukrainian interests, although some of it might be Ukrainian oligarch money, a lot of that is recycled aid money that goes to Ukraine and then comes back to grease the wheels back in Washington. My point being, that letter didn't write itself. Somebody had the bright idea to use this as a way to sort of, stick it to Putin and use it as a pretext for, terrorism, whatever it might be.
It was in Melania's handwriting. She just writes in in Canvasan. Like what?
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, she's a very bright lady. She speaks 6 languages, but very few native English speakers could have written that letter. She didn't write the letter, of course.
Well, I'm just shocked, Jim. I'm shocked and dismayed.
Shocked. If it had been written in Slovenian or even Russian, actually, if she had written the letter herself, she could have written it in Russian, right?
Well, but she's so nice, Jim. She's so nice. She's thinking of us.
No,
she wrote a letter to the Russian president in English.
Yeah. If it was a heartfelt letter to the Russian president, wouldn't it be written? Would you have written it in Russian and maybe in your own handwriting?
Well, but then how could we read it online? How could we react to it if it was done?
Maybe in other words, you're saying that was the purpose rather than actually appealing to Mr. Putin?
I'm
Are you saying
I'm
that?
not saying
Are
it's
you
a purpose.
suggesting-
I'm suggesting nothing, sir. I'm saying that the beloved wife of the glorious God Emperor Trump did us a service. Maybe there was 2 letters.
Oh, I see.
You don't know. What do you know, Jim?
Oh,
There could be 2 letters.
Ah,
Maybe one was sent in Cyrillic and the other one was just given to us as a gift. It's just so we could read it.
I see. Okay, well, you got me there.
See, you're doubting minds.
See?
Yeah, there's boomerisms, Jim. What are you doing? All right,
I keep
ladies and
forgetting.
gentlemen.
You're not a boomer, right?
No, I'm a Gen Xer, sir. I am on the tail end, but I am still a proud Gen Xer. Born in '77.
Okay.
Saw
70
Return of the Jedi.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Saw Return of the
Yeah, you're not
Jedi
even
in
close
theaters.
to being a boomer.
No.
Yeah.
No. My mother
right.
had me late, so I would have been much
Yeah.
more firmly in the boomer camp if she had me at a more traditional age.
Right.
But well, there you go.
Wow.
I'm only 48, Jim. I'm spry. in internet age, I'm done. I should retire. Like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you know, in everyone else's eyes, I got vigor. I don't know.
A little vim and vigor.
Is that what-
Yeah.
Is that what we're calling it now? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you
Piss
so
and vinegar.
much.
Yeah.
Jim, thank you as always. Appreciate you. Of course. Okay, so now we have you have the expatmoneysummit.com that you're taking part of. Do you want to you still have time? You could rename the Ludwell conference the Ludwell Summit, right? The Orthodox Summit. Maybe next year.
True.
Do you want to pitch that?
Yeah, maybe next year.
What other summits are you doing?
Actually, I don't need to pitch anymore. We're sold out. We've had to close down registration where we've reached the fire code limit. But I mean, but obviously, please go to southernorthodox.org because there's a lot of good resources there, and we will try to post the presentations a lot more quickly this time than we did the previous conference.
Well, I know.
In fact,
Buck
yeah.
Buck says he's going to do a live counterflow from the conference like he did last year.
Is he going to do it live?
This is what he said.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Maybe I should talk to Buck because I would love to live stream the whole conference since it's sold out anyway. So I might as well do that.
Why not? Yeah, exactly.
I'll talk with Buck. That'd be cool.
You talk with Buck.
No, you talk with Buck. I'll talk with Buck.
You talk about Buck. And of course, I'll be there in spirit. And hey, if you're Leicester, I'll be there. I'll be there in the audience.
Remember,
ladies and gentlemen, always
SouthernOrthodox.org.
Exactly, and the links in the description below. Of course, I try to warn you. The book, compiled works of James George Jatras, available on Amazon, Kindle, and all your other fine booksellers. Get yourself a copy. Links in the description below. Also, links in the description below. Way to send me money. Send me money, please. Keeps Miss Marinchik happy. I'm doing improvements in the studio so that we can bring you even more higher quality. The quality is so high, we're going to bring it higher. And let people know, like, subscribe, share, do all the things, hit the bells, the whistles, all the other things. There we go. Turkey.
Nice hats.
We should be talking about Turkey at some point. Maybe next week.
Turkey,
Next week.
Turkey.
Next week. I always hate to announce these things until we're almost doing them, because things can happen. But I have secured a guest for next week. It's Mr. Thomas 777. Where he's coming on, and we'll be talking some geopolitics, some realpolitik. I'm excited to bring you two together. This will be a first time you two are meeting. And Thomas is a great friend of the channel, also a great alternative historian. Maybe one day we'll get you and Pete Quinones to talk to you as well. Talk maybe some Solzhenitsyn, because we'll bring some worlds together. You like that, folks? So let people know next week.
Bringing people together.
Thomas 777, Jim Jatras. Oh my Lord. We'll be talking some things, get your pecker words sorted out. Because I see too many people just talking some stuff. And we need to unclutter your mind a bit about how these things work. And at the end of the day, if you prefer a narrative and you want to run with that narrative, God bless you. Please go ahead and Godspeed. But I feel like there's a duty that I have, and that my duty here is to present you with as much actual reality as possible, and then you can do with that as you will. So Jim, always a pleasure. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jason Marinchuk, and it's later than you think.